Okay, we got a new year coming, and New Year resolutions are one of the things people do. It's come to my attention that a lot of you don't know how to cook a lot of things, or you don't know what to do with certain ingredients. You don't know how to make life easy. You don't know how to make cooking fun. Well, let's make it a New Year's resolution that we work together and we fix that. It's normal. You're going to screw things up. You're going to burn things. You're going to scorch things. You're going to ruin things. You're going to throw food in the trash that nobody ever knew you prepared, and that's fine. Let's slow the cycle down a little bit, and let's show you some basic techniques, some basic fundamentals of cooking that's going to make cooking so much more fun, so much more enjoyable, and so much more delicious. Better than anything that you have ever imagined that you could cook. In some cases. Other cases, not so much. So, let's get started on our journey together. Okay, before we can start cooking, we have to do some shopping. So we're down here at New Beginning at 221 North Lewis Street in Stanton, and we're going to buy our ingredients for our pecan crusted trout dish. Here in the freezer, they have local trout from Laurel Hill Trout Farm. The recipe calls for 4 fillets. Let's grab that. Since in the title it says pecan crusted trout, we're going to need some pecans. And if we go over to the produce cooler, we're also going to need some fresh rosemary. Ta-da! Now, I have some stuff already in my pantry, as do you. You just need to realize what you've got and what you're going to need. We're going to use some pink Himalayan salt. I've got some in my pantry already. And we're going to need some fresh peppercorns because grinding your own is just much better for flavor. This recipe calls for an oven bake on the trout. You also have an option if you want to get some butter, or if you don't have butter, grab butter, of doing pan fried. Both are really quick, really easy. Do not let this recipe intimidate you. Do not let the sound of the words intimidate you, but we do have to pay for stuff or the police will intimidate you for stealing. Hi there, welcome to your first class. The purpose of these classes, these demonstrations, whatever definition you want to give them, is to help you become more comfortable with what you're doing in the kitchen. I want you to enjoy cooking, I want you to discover the fun of it, and hopefully we're going to do a little bit of that along the way, and you'll learn a little bit, you'll maybe not learn a little bit, you'll teach me a little bit. So the first thing that we're going to do with the pecan crusted trout, we need to do a couple of things. First, we need to wash your hands. Always wash your hands before you get started. The other thing we need to do is assemble everything that you're going to need ahead of time so you're not burning this while you're running over here to get that. So let's go ahead and assemble everything together, which I've already done. We've got salt, pepper, the rosemary, the pecans, the trout front and center. The one thing that we have not done is stabilize the cutting board. The cutting board's got a little bit of slide to it. That's a dangerous situation. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. We're going to do a paper towel. We're going to do a paper towel. Underneath of it's wet, or a tea towel, something under it that's wet. It's going to grip. You're not going to cut yourself. Okay, so that's done. Yay, we're safe. So we're going to have a half a cup of pecans. We're going to get a couple of teaspoons of rosemary, and we're going to get a teaspoon of salt. We're going to mix it up, and we're going to make a coating to go over top of the trout. We're going to do it in a casserole dish. And you're going to go ahead and coat it with the pan coating of your choice right now before you forget about it and your hands get all goofy later. So what we're going to do is grab a bowl, any bowl, your favorite bowl, makes no difference. And we're going to do about a half a cup of crushed pecans. So these are pecan halves. We're going to just crush it. What you're doing is thinking about what it's going to look like on the trout. You don't want a pecan half on your trout fillet. You want it to be tasty. You want it to be bite-sized. So what we're going to do is just crush it up until it looks pretty close to being destroyed. And then we'll proceed to season them up and crush them and coat the trout. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Probably going to be some in the middle that we missed. That's okay, we can come and get them later. So we're going to do about a half a cup. And another thing that I have done that you may want to consider doing in your kitchen is organizing to where you can kind of grab stuff. You notice that I just grabbed the cup. What I've got is quarter, half, the full cup, the half cup, the third cup, and the quarter cup. And that kind of comes in from both ends. So I kind of know what I'm grabbing when I reach back here. The nuts are not quite where they need to be, so we're just going to crush it up a little bit more. Okay, so that's kind of the consistency that we're going for. Just something that's going to be a nice light coating. You're not going to overcoat these things. You don't want the pecans to come in so strong that they're going to overpower the fish, because trout is a really mild fish and you want to really enjoy that flavor that comes out of it. And so we've got our half a cup of nuts. Let's go ahead and set the half cup and the nuts out of the way so we're not causing trouble for ourselves later. Now we call for a teaspoon of salt, and you carry one with you wherever you go. So that's a teaspoon of salt right there. In it goes. And voila. There's that. Now the next thing is going to be 2 teaspoons of fresh rosemary. Rosemary is a hard herb in that it's got a woody stalk, and if you get one that's got a really hard woody stalk, that's great. Just set it aside, save it for when you're doing chicken breast. You can skewer it inside and flavor the chicken from the inside out. You can flavor pork from the inside out. It's actually strong enough you can sharpen it down like a little spear and just go in. But what we're going to do right now is just grab it, and we're going to strip the leaves backwards off of the stem, and that's going to strip them right off. And they're going to be right there where we can get to them. And then we're going to chop them a little bit. It's not a really good mouthfeel to get a whole piece of rosemary. I'm sure some of you have done it, maybe all of you have done it. But the rosemary can be a little prickly, especially as it gets older and more mature. So what we're going to do is just kind of chop it up a little bit, because that's going to be about what we need there. We'll set those out of the way. Knife sharpening is another class that's coming up later. So we're just going to run through and give them a quick chop. And what this is going to do is release some of the oils that's inside, and then that heat in the oven is going to activate it. And that's what you want. If you're using fresh herbs, typically you put them in at the end of the recipe because they're already awake. If you're using dried herbs, you want to put them in at the beginning because you need heat and moisture in order to wake them up and really utilize their flavor. So there we go. We got those chopped up. Those are going in with the nuts right there. And I'm just going to give it all a quick toss to get everything mixed up really, really good. So, pecan crusted trout. You need the trout. One. This one actually has a few bones left in it. So let me show you a little trick. when it comes to fish and bones. Get you a nice round bowl, turn it upside down, drape it skin side down over top of it, and you can find those little bones. They'll stand up, and then you can take a pair of pliers, you can take your fingernail, and you can get them out. Little quick trick. Better to have it here than in your mouth at the dinner table while you're entertaining guests. That would not be a good thing. All right, so we got the trout in the pan, and what I'm going to do today is actually show you two ways to do this. Both are equally easy. You're just going to take these and just do a quick, if you feel any big chunks of nuts in there, just kind of crush them up in your hand. Pecans are a soft nut, so you're not going to have any problem just breaking them. And you're going to embed the nut into the fish. You're going to embed the herbs into the fish. Mash them in really good so it makes good contact. And there you go. Now this is going in a 400-degree oven for about 10 minutes. Set a timer. You're gonna forget about it. You're gonna get distracted. All right, way number 2. We're gonna do a quick pan fry. We're gonna do a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. Oil of your choice. If you don't like olive oil, that's fine. We still got our nut mixture here. What we're gonna do is make a seasoned flour mix. So we're gonna take regular all-purpose flour. If you want to use something like a Bob's Red Mill gluten-free flour, that's fine. That's perfectly fine, actually, because it's used for use. And some fresh cracked pepper. Now, if you've got a pepper mill, always tap it when you get done so you don't make a mess on the counter. But if you've got a pepper mill, you're going to get the freshest flavor out of your pepper. It's going to release those oils at the point that you need them. It's not going to release it in the container that's going to sit on the shelf for 6 months or however long in the grocery store. Most pepper mills have an adjustment nut on top. You tighten it down all the way, you get a really fine pepper that comes out of it, and you loosen it up. You can adjust how much and how chunky your pepper is going to be. So we're doing just a really kind of a medium grind on it, and you just want to cover. We've got just a regular AP flour, all-purpose flour, and we've got salt, we've got pepper. Salt is a flavor enhancer, pepper is a flavor changer. So be careful on the proportions of everything. You don't want to over salt, but you do want to be able to enhance the flavors of the trout. So that's our mixture of seasoned flour. We've got our nuts here. What we're going to do is known as an egg dredge. So what we're going to do is just crack. We've only got 2 fillets. We can probably get by with 1 egg. The recipe calls for 4 trout fillets. If you're doing all of them the same way, if you're doing it this way, definitely use more than 1 egg. 2 probably would be fine. So what we're going to do is just very simple. We're going to take the trout fillet, we're going to run it through the egg, and it's going to be slick. We're going to dip it in the flour, and then we're going to lay it out so that we can coat it. So we're doing an egg front and back. We're doing the flour front and back. And then we're laying it out where we can get to it good. I'm actually going to change containers here because that one works better. All right, we'll wash this up. Yes, you wash your hands a lot when you're cooking. It's part of it. You make a mess. All right, now you've dredged your fish. You've got your pan with the olive oil going. Let's go ahead and turn the pan on. We want to do a medium-high heat right now. We want to get that olive oil hot to where it's starting to do a light smoke. While it's getting hot, we're going to go ahead and coat the trout with the rest of the pecan mixture. deck. Let's get rid of some of this. Get it out of the way. Alright, now what we're going to do is once your pan gets hot and your oil starts to lightly smoke. You don't want massive smoke, you don't want black smoke. You want just a light, very light smoke coming out of it. And what we're going to do is when that gets hot, you want to hear a sizzle as soon as you put it in there, because otherwise your product, whatever you're doing, in this case trout, is soaking up the oil, and that's why things get really soggy really quick, because they've got the improper temperature and they're trying to soak up the oil and they're trying to cook, and it's just making a big mess as they go. So what we're going to do, this feels like it's getting pretty nice and warm. Lay that in there. You can hear the sizzle. So you can see that's going on. We've got the oven going. We've got the timer set for the oven. We've got the trout in the skillet. It's going to take about 2 minutes on each side. It's not going to take long. Trout cooks really quick. And we're just going to get ready to plate it up. Both of them can be plated the same. They can be plated different. It's your dinner party. How do you want it to look? Do you want the baked on with the same as the pan seared? Do you want them separate? Do you want to make a sauce to go over top of it? We'll do sauces later. You just want to make sure that everything is nice and hot. We've got some bubbles going around the outside. That shows that we've got a good cook going there. We've got some bubbles there. We got some bubbles there. Now, it's normal. You're going to lose some of the pecans off of this when you flip it, but that's okay. Don't panic. Don't panic. It's fine. Trust me. All right, this is starting to smell really good right now, because the trout is a really mild trout. Mild fish, you don't have a lot of fishiness about it. You should never have a lot of fishiness about your fish. Fresh fish shouldn't smell. If you're smelling fish, it's old. Avoid it. Go to somewhere else. Go buy pork or something. But what you want here is to get a nice crisp coat on the outside of it. And yes, these fillets do have the skin on. The skin's perfectly fine to eat. Trout don't have scales like regular fish. They have like skin, kind of like catfish. So it's perfectly safe to eat it. The skin is going to get nice and crispy. It's going to release some of the natural oils back into the flesh, which is great. It's going to really enhance the flavors. All right, so what we're going to do is kind of utilize the side of the pan and just kind of gently roll it. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Do a gently roll. You see those nice golden colors that we've got going on there? Beautiful golden colors happening. We're going to check the other ones. 10 to 12 minutes is what it calls for. Just turn the pan 180, and that way if you've got hot spots in the oven, you don't have to worry about this corner getting black and this corner being raw. So about halfway through your cook cycle, just turn it 180. So we've got a good sizzle going on. That's great. That's what we want. We've got some nice browning going on. That's great. The flour and the egg mixture is starting to really brown up nicely. We're getting a nice crisp crust on the outside of it. That's where you're going to get that wow impact. You're going to bite into it. You're going to get those flavors from the rosemary. You're going to get the flavors from the pecans that are now toasted. You're going to get, you know, the seasoned flour that we put on there, in addition to those wonderful trout flavors that we've got going on. Trout is actually akin to salmon, they're cousins, so you've got a lot of healthy omega-3s, which is great. It's healthy, it's nice. A lot of fish don't have the omega-3, so if you're interested in that for cholesterol and overall health, look into the ones that do have the higher levels of the omega-3. And the salmon is going to be #1. Trout's probably going to be #2. And it's a good year-round fish. You can use it in the summertime. You can use it in the wintertime. It can be smoked. It can be, look at that. There we go. It can be smoked. It can be, as you can see, pan-fried. Now at this point, I'm going to turn the heat off. Just get the last little residual going on there. I'm going to pull the blades close together over the center of the heat so they can capture as much heat as possible. And we are almost ready to plate these guys up. I'm going to plate the baked ones differently than the pan-seared ones. But you notice we've got 2 different recipes going on at the same time. This is not that hard. It sounds intimidating, it tastes delicious, and it's going to look beautiful on your dinner table. The only thing you're going to need is maybe some parsley mashed potatoes, garlic mashed potatoes, or maybe some honey roasted carrots or something. We'll get into the sides later. So at this point, what I'm going to do is just come right over here and right over here. We're going to take the rest of these little guys in here. We're going to do a quick sprinkle. And just as a additional wow factor, parsley. As an additional wow factor, we're going to take some fresh or dried parsley. Fresh parsley, you get just a little bit more color. If you're going to use fresh parsley, go for the Italian flat leaf. It's got a better flavor. If you want to garnish, go for the curly leaf. It looks better. So there is that tray. And at this point, the other ones out of the oven should be done. We've got the sizzle, we've got the smell. Those toasted pecans are absolutely out of this world right now. So there you go. Pecan crusted trout 2 ways. Pan seared, oven baked. The only thing that would make it any better is a nice Riesling to go with it. Barren Ridge does a really, really nice Riesling that goes really great with freshwater fish. It goes really great with saltwater fish, any kind of fish it goes really great with. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and break one of these open and let you see inside. Now look at that nice, beautiful trout fillet, pecan crusted trout. It's so good. It's so mild. And those toasted pecans just have that really warm feeling about them. Got those nice toasty flavors going on. This one is from the oven. You can't go wrong either way. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you join us for the next one. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you tried the recipe, how it turned out for you. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it.